Okay, so I told you we're going to be practical. So practical step number one on how to have good relationships. You know, you've got to recognize what you've got. That's step number one. You've got to recognize what you've got. It's the first stage of our PBR principle and probably the most challenging on how to have. You must be able to perceive or discern with biblical accuracy. How can you be thankful for what you don't recognize? How can you eliminate what you don't recognize as a contradiction to wisdom and truth? And if you don't discern it, if you aren't able to discern it. So step number one on how to have good relationships, you've got to what? Recognize what you've got. Recognize whom you have. Number two, step two on how to have good relationships. Now you've got to celebrate what you've got. Oh yeah. Once a farmer removes the chaff from the grain, guess what he does? He recognizes and he turns it into a celebration. Look at the grain I've got. Let me give you both sides of the coin in this area. What you celebrate comes to you. What you fail to celebrate will move away from you, period. Whatever you fail to celebrate and value will move away from you, even run away from you sometimes. Here it is in ultra practical terms because this principle works for more than just relationships. If you don't celebrate the pennies, guess what? You'll find that even the dollars move away from you. They run away from you. If you don't celebrate your next heartbeat, guess what? You'll disrespect the breath of life. It will tragically leave you. If you don't learn to celebrate the little gifts, you'll never qualify for the bigger gifts. If you refuse to celebrate correction, you'll never have wise people as friends. If you don't celebrate difference, you'll never have harmony, diversity, or even good steel. That's how you make an alloy. Little babies are the outcome of the celebration of differences. Just think about that. Step number two, celebrate what you have. This is essential to how to have good relationships. You're not replaceable, my friend. You are not replaceable. To celebrate you, you've got to learn how to celebrate others. Now, step number three on how to have good relationships. Be faithful with what you've got. Be faithful. Listen to that word, faithful. Is it a friendship? An employee-boss relationship? Is it a marriage? Maybe it's a granddaughter-grandmother relationship or a father-son relationship. After steps 1 and 2, you need to be faithful. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. That's what Hebrews 11:6 says. For a relationship to please God, it needs faith. It's got to have faith. Good relationships must be recognized, celebrated, and fostered with faithfulness. So step 3 on how to have good relationships, be faithful with what you've got. And finally, step 4, how to have good relationships, be Christ-centered with everyone. Now, please don't get weird or religious here. This simply means allow Jesus' excellent example to guide you. Don't ask what would Jesus do, just do what Jesus did. Jesus described himself in Matthew 11. He says this, learn of me. He says, I'm meek and I'm humble. Philippians 4 verse 5 says, let your gentleness be made known unto all men. Did you know pride is always wrong and humility will always precede God lifting you up, even exalting you, 1 Peter 5 says. Do you want to know how to be a haver? How to have good relationships? Be focused on Jesus. Learn his way. Get a relationship coach, pastor, who you know does it Jesus' way. Smart people get help. Did you know that? You might say, Stephen, I've made such a mess of all my relationships. I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to focus on Jesus, or as you say, be Christ-centered. First of all, know this. You are not replaceable. Think about that. Jesus died for you.